You've also likely heard many stories about Mount Kilimanjaro in Moshi, Tanzania, the tallest mountain in Africa, with a height of 5,895 meters. Those are just some of the tall mountains on the Earth's surface. Besides mountains, there are also deep valleys descending into the Earth's surface, such as the Great Rift Valley, which passes through various parts of Tanzania. Now forget about all that. Did you know that the number of mountains and valleys on the Earth's surface is smaller than the number of mountains and valleys underwater? Looking at the ocean from above, you might think it's flat. But the truth is, on the ocean floor, there are tall mountains and deep valleys, many of which are larger than those on land. Still don't believe it? Listen to this. Mount Everest, which as mentioned is the tallest mountain in the world, if placed on the ocean floor in the deepest part of the world, Mariana Trench, its peak would still remain underwater at a depth of approximately 2,000 meters. What is the Mariana Trench? The Mariana Trench is the deepest part of the ocean, estimated to be a distance of 10,971 to 11,000 meters below the sea surface. This longest ocean trench is located in the Pacific Ocean near the Mariana Islands, next to Guam, 200 kilometers east of the Philippines. It was named Mariana Trench, meaning Mariana's Trench or Valley, because it is located near the Mariana Islands. To date, only 12 people have successfully landed on the Moon and returned to Earth, but it is said that only 3 humans have ever reached this deepest part of the Mariana Trench, known as Challenger Deep, which is said to be terrifyingly unique. You might wonder why many scientists are more interested in researching distant celestial bodies beyond the Earth, such as Mars and the Moon, rather than exploring the depths of the oceans, especially the Mariana Trench. It is said that the experiences encountered by researchers who have been there are astonishing and terrifying. The Mariana Trench is like a completely different world, full of extreme wonders, and some cultures even claim that it is the residence of the Lord of Darkness, claims that are very difficult to scientifically verify. Before we start delving into the wonders of the Mariana Trench, let me first give you some information on how you can divide the ocean. It is known that the world is made up of 3 things: air, water, and land. Technically, these things are called the atmosphere for air, hydrosphere for water, and lithosphere for land. 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans, large and small. The largest ocean on Earth is the Pacific Ocean, while the smallest ocean is the Arctic among the 5 largest oceans in the world, including the Indian Ocean, which is located on the shores of Tanzania. Now let's start by looking at the ocean from its surface to its floor. A euphotic zone. From sea level to 200 meters below, this area is technically called the euphotic or light zone. This is the uppermost part of the ocean that receives enough sunlight where 90% of all ocean creatures discovered live. In this area, there is abundant food because sunlight enables marine plants to produce their food through a process called photosynthesis. After plants produce food, they are eaten by other fish, and the food chain continues in that way. Dysphotic zone. After finishing the euphotic zone, the area that follows is the dysphotic, or sometimes called the twilight zone, and this zone ranges from 201 meters to 1,000 meters deep. This is a part where sunlight reaches but is very faint and insufficient for marine plants to produce their food. Marine science experts explain that the light in this area is likened to the light seen in the evening after sunset and before darkness. It is explained that only 8% of all discovered ocean creatures can survive in these environments, and most of them are those that have come from the upper well-lit zone to this zone for resting or foraging. The air pressure in this area is so great that creatures whose entire lives are in this area have no swim bladder, a special organ that fish and other marine creatures use to fill with air and make them buoyant. The main reason why creatures in this area do not have a swim bladder is that the pressure is so high that it can cause these organs to burst and cause death. Aphotic zone. This is the third zone in the ocean depth and extends from 1,001 meters to 10,971 or 11,000 meters, where Challenger Deep is located, as mentioned, the deepest part of the Mariana Trench. This area is also known as the midnight zone because it is always dark, and you cannot see anything in this area. When we talk about the percentage of marine creatures living, you should understand that until today, marine scientists and researchers say that only 10% of the discovered marine creatures are known. 90% of marine creatures have not been discovered yet, and for your information, the majority of these undiscovered creatures live in the deepest parts of the ocean, including the Mariana Trench. In summary, there are many creatures under the sea that humans have never seen or know anything about. But more importantly, there are many large and terrifying creatures in the Mariana Trench, the deepest trench in the world, lying at the bottom of the sea. Environment of the Mariana Trench. After that initial analysis, let's continue to look at the lowest part of the ocean, especially in the Mariana Trench. I have already told you that in this area of the sea, there is no sunlight penetrating, and it is dark all the time, darkness that you cannot even see your finger if you bring it close to your eyes. Perhaps this darkness is what makes some people believe that this is where the Dark Lord resides. Now you might ask, if it is dark 24 hours a day for 7 days a week, how do creatures living there manage their lives? How do they perceive the surrounding environment? How do they get their food? Research suggests that creatures living in this deep sea area have the ability to produce their food by using chemicals inside their bodies and in the surrounding environment, a process called chemosynthesis. But also, animals living in this area have the ability to generate their light because, as mentioned, it is a dark area. This action is called bioluminescence. If you have ever lived in rural areas, you may know some small insects that, during the rainy season, appear at night shining and producing light like stars. This action is called bioluminescence, and creatures living in the lowest part of the sea also produce their light in this way, making them even more terrifying. Scientists say that if there is a place with the most challenging living conditions for any living creature, it is in the Mariana Trench. Apart from the natural creatures of this area, no other creature, whether marine or terrestrial, can live in the Mariana Trench. Even humans themselves, despite all their cleverness in being able to stay on Mars, the Moon, environments that make it difficult for other creatures to live in this area are, first of all, the air pressure or the existing pressure. It is explained that this area has a much higher pressure than anywhere else, reaching 8 tons per square inch. That is, if you are accidentally thrown into this rough sea and reach this area without wearing any protective gear, your body will explode like a bomb and disintegrate, or you will be crushed as if you were stepped on by a military rhino, the one using chains. But also in this area, there is absolutely no oxygen, which is used by almost all animals on Earth to sustain their lives. Apart from that, this area has extreme cold that can freeze anything within a few seconds. It is explained that even the water in this area should have been frozen all the time, but because it has a high salt content, the freezing point has dropped, making it difficult to freeze. Regarding the salt issue, it is known that all seawater has salt, water or hydrothermal vents, as they are technically known. People who have reached the Mariana Trench. Among the people who have succeeded in reaching this Mariana Trench, there are two soldiers from the United States Navy, Lieutenant Donald Walsh and engineer Jacques Picard, who made the known. Special devices connected to satellites have been capturing these sounds. The Canadian military once ventured to investigate these noises, which are accompanied by intense rumbling on the ocean floor from the Mariana Trench to the Arctic. However, no reports were issued by the military, and the investigation was discontinued, citing an inability to explain the cause of these strange sounds. And that's the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, with all its wonders.